All right, so I'm gonna show you guys the outro riff to Lock and Key as well. This is a riff that's sort of generated in a way that's sort of influenced by the main riff. It's kind of an idea I had in my mind when I started composing the song. I knew I sort of wanted something like this. I needed to get all the way to the end of the composition to sort of figure it out. But basically what's happening here is there's a really specific contour in the main line that I showed you in the intro theme. And based on the register and the way the instrument's tuned, I kind of had a sneaking suspicion I would be able to play it 1 octave lower, or at least some sort of variation that's 1 octave lower. In the intro, when I'm playing a unison, the lead is in unison with that synth that you'll notice is sort of flowing through the entire section. The purpose of this in the outro is to be able to have the guitars play the same sort of idea with some variation down the octave, and then have the synth flow over top to carry the main melody. So what you'll notice is a lot of the lines are influenced by the main theme. Right? So it feels very similar. There's a few tails that, of course, are a little bit different in the end, and that's because this is a hybrid between the overall feel from the main theme and then toggling into something that, would feel more like a rhythm part, something that's like really involved with the rhythm section. So a few variations here, and in, true intervals fashion, there's usually a couple different interchangeable tails, kind of a call and response kind of thing. So something else that I would probably note about this is you certainly could play this with hybrid picking. And it feels intuitive for me to do that, but I think in the context of a more rhythmic and riff-driven type of part, I would probably opt to use your pick as much as possible. Again, these things are interchangeable. I'm not a stickler when it comes to technique. I think something like hybrid picking, if it makes your life better, then you should absolutely do it. With something more upper register, maybe perhaps a little bit more dynamic or delicate like a lead, I think it's a little bit easier to mask. On the lower strings, though, we kind of want a little bit more transient information and a little more cut. So if it feels comfortable to use your fingers, go ahead. But if you can do it with the pick, I'd say you probably get a little bit more of a deliberate sound. It's a little softer towards the end, so you get some really good attack with the pick. And I find that when I'm using my pick and not my fingers, I get a little more damage control on the right hand. I can kind of keep the instrument a little bit more muted at times. Right? And that's sort of the overarching idea here. The notes are completely influenced by the chord shapes from the theme, but I'm playing them down the octave, and then it's this like sort of hybrid bounce between the identity and the core sort of idea of the song, and then toggling into sort of a rhythmic vibe that, teams up with the kick drum and the bass to allow the synth to flow through in those pockets at the end, and it feels more finite as the outro. So that's sort of the overarching concept. Played it at tempo and at 75% speed, so mess around with how you approach the technique and enjoy, have some fun.